We come down to the next reason, and this one does include citations of the Quran. Quranic literalism aims at world domination, justification for suicide, and ultimate self-sacrifice, as the martyr proceeds directly to paradise. For while destroying yourselves is prohibited, those dying for the faith are richly rewarded. First question, does Quranic literalism aim at world domination? Is this a justification for suicide and martyrdom? Does the Quran prohibit destroying yourselves? In what sense? And what does it mean that those dying for the faith are richly rewarded? Is this significantly distinct from Catholic beliefs regarding martyrdom? And with respect to Quran, Surah 4, 74 through 78, what is said in it? And does Harris appropriately understand and relate it? In response to the first question, again, Harris provides no evidence for this claim. Is this a justification for suicide and martyrdom? If so, it might be, but again, we didn't get any evidence. But not all aims at world domination say that world domination is worth it at any cost. The Catholic Church aims at dominion over the world, but not at any cost. The Catholic Church aims at everybody being Catholic. So if what we mean by world domination of Islam is just everybody being a Muslim, then the world domination claim is again taken out of context now of the understanding. Does the Quran prohibit destroying yourselves? Well, here we're going to go to the Quran. We're going to go to 429. And for this, you'll have to pull up your Quran. You'll have to read it. We have, you who believe do not wrongfully consume each other's wealth, but trade by mutual consent. Do not kill each other, for God is merciful to you. I've done two things with do not kill each other. I've double underlined it to mark that this is what Harris is specifically referencing. And then I've highlighted it to say, okay, this is going to be important in the next step I take, which is just going to be, here's the quote, do not kill each other from the Quran. I don't need the entire thing. Interestingly enough, this actually seems to support Harris's claim that there's no prohibition. This does not say do not kill yourself. This does not say do not commit suicide. This does not say any of that. Says do not kill each other, which is vague and very open to interpretation, as Harris claims. There's enough loopholes to fly a 767 through. Now for the next question, this is where Harris references a larger section of text, references multiple verses. So again, I'm going to go to the Quran, the text I have, the one I've given you, and I am going to read it in context, figure out what's going on. And this is long, okay? But note, I've highlighted what I think is important in here, and I've double underlined what we have from Harris. And so then I'm going to condense this. And one of the reasons I make the verse numbers much larger is it helps me keep track so that I can correctly cite, correctly reference. And now I'm going to just keep the highlighted sections and the double underlined sections. And what we get is a little shorter, combined. And one more step, I just combine all of them. I cite it, Quran, Surah 4, verses 74 through 77. And what we have now is let those of you who are willing to trade the life of this world for the life to come, fight in God's way. To anyone who fights in God's way, whether killed or victorious, we shall give a great reward. And I've highlighted something, again, an extra highlighting as I bring it over. Why should you not fight in God's cause and for those oppressed, men, women, and children who cry out, Lord, rescue us from this town whose people are oppressors. By your grace, give us a protector and give us a helper. The believers fight for God's cause, while those who reject faith fight for an unjust cause. Say to them, little is the enjoyment of this world. The hereafter is far better for those who are mindful of God. So in reading this, I think, wait a second. This is what was left out, where that weird line that we talked about a couple videos ago, we thought might be an ellipsis. Right, and I'm going to go, well, where's that Harris quote about magic and sleight of hand? Remember this weird line up here, and rich reward him, this weird line that we thought was ellipsis, the true believers. And if we come down, here we have richly rewarded the believers. Harris has left out this highlighted section. Deliberately, knowingly, he couldn't have read these and missed this about the oppressors and the oppressed and fighting against the oppressors. And so I'm going to go back to that text and remember this outright prestidigitation with the articles of faith, sleight of hand, magician's pattern. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to say, well, it seems as though Harris is the one involved in tricks, as he leaves out the verse about this fight being a response to those who are unjustly oppressing the vulnerable. This is not aggression. This is other defense. And it has little to nothing to do with mere unbelievers, with unbelievers that are just unbelievers. It has to do with the unbelievers that are oppressing the vulnerable. Moving on to the next question, what is said in 74 and 78? Does Harris appropriately understand and relate it? Well, obviously not, right? We've just had 74 through 77 up here. He obviously is not understanding this or relating it faithfully. But now I'm going to look further. Harris has given us a solid reason not to trust what he says about the Quran. A very solid. He's deliberately leaving parts out that do not support his argument. So we're going to look really close and deeper. So I'm going to continue on from 77. I'm going to continue on 78 through. And again, I'm going to highlight what's important. I'm going to double underline anything that Harris has said. I'm going to increase the size of the verse numbers. And then I'm going to condense what was important, what was highlighted, into one big block that I can work with. And what I have is from the Quran, Surah 4, verses 80 through 86. Whoever obeys the messenger obeys God. If some pay no heed, we have not sent you to be their keeper. They say, we obey you, but as soon as they leave your presence, some of them scheme by night to do other than what you said. God records what they scheme, so leave them alone and put your trust in God. He is sufficient protector. Leave the unbelievers alone. You are not their keeper. So, prophet, fight in God's way. Well, what is God's way then? It can't be just fighting any of the unbelievers. So it's a permission to fight, but a limited permission to fight against unbelievers. And what we got from before is it seems to be a fight of self-defense or other defense. You are accountable only for yourself. Urge the believers on. God may well curb the power of the disbelievers, for he is stronger in might and more terrible in punishment. Whoever speaks for a good cause will share in its benefits, and whoever speaks for a bad cause will share in its burden. God controls everything, but even in battle, when you believers are offered a greeting, respond with a better one, or at least return the greeting. This passage commands Muslims to pay no heed to unbelievers and to let them on their way. That is, it seems to lessen the potential for violence, not increase it.